My research question is how nativism has enhanced hate towards immigrants in the United States society. Throughout the U.S. history, America has been known for its skepticism of immigrants. This is encased by the nationalist belief that Americans are and have been a superior race. This assumption has had a tremendous impact on the economic, political, and social changes of the past half century, and it has manifested itself now in a widespread clash of cultures. This understanding of racial tension has been rooted since the 18th century, and it is known as Nativism. America defines Nativism as the policy that protects the interests of U.S. citizens against immigrants by intense opposition to minorities. The earliest form of recorded nativism was anti-Catholicism hostility rampant in England before the era of colonization, and rooted in imperial rivalries with Catholic Spain and France and the founding of what became the Church of England. Religious nativism gained new life in the American colonies and became the most enduring part of nativist tradition in America until the mid 20th century. Nativists object, objected primarily to Irish Roman Catholics because of their loyalty to the Pope, and also because of their supposed rejection of republicanism as an American ideal. Moreover, nativists felt threatened by immigrants because they were considered as inferior race of people that threatened the future of America and the Catholics. Nativists believed that Catholics would undermine the public school system by insisting on parochial doctrine. Nativism declined in the Revolutionary era, but in the 1830s, as immigration from Ireland and Germany swelled in the Catholic population, new anti-alien movement emerged, launching violent attacks on Catholic institutions and publishing numerous anti-Catholic tracts. Nativist fears shaped a new political party called the American Republicans. The party only endured until 1847, yet the principle of nativism survived. Forced immigration of Irish people to the western province of Ireland from the potato famine stimulated a vast migration to America that emerged new and more formidable nativist political movements. These include the party called Know Nothing or American Party of the 1850s, the Immigration Restriction League of the 1890s, the anti-Asian movement in the West, resulting in the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882 and the Gentlemen's Agreement of 1907, by which Japan's government stopped immigration to the United States. Many German and Irish Catholics had immigrated in the 1840s and 1850s, and more arrived after the Civil War. Some Americans had prejudices against Catholics, but the Irish spoke English and the German Catholics benefited from the good reputation of their Protestant countrymen. Although they lacked skills and money, the children of these immigrants were often able to blend into American society. Beginning in the 1870s, Irish and Germans were joined by new immigrants from southern and eastern Europe. They arrived in increasing numbers until the outbreak of World War One. In contrast to all immigrants who had come before the Irish and Germans, new immigrants were often unskilled, poor, Catholic Jewish, and likely to settle in cities rather than on farms. Many came along, planning to save some money in the United States and return home to live. They came from Italy, Greece, Poland, Hungary, and Russia. After 1900, immigrants from southern and eastern Europe made up more than 70% of all immigrants, up from about 1% at mid-century. This immigration boom mainly happened after the American Civil War in 1865 and between Reconstruction and the First World War One, when the United States required huge supplies of labor to work in newly created large-scale manufacturing and mass production industry. Since foreign human capital was cheaper, immigrants in search of work and opportunity got the job that used to be directed towards Americans. This situation inherently stimulated an anti-immigrant backlash among the American population. Many Americans blame immigrants for the problems caused by rapid modernization. In addition, political, economic, and social changes led to the rise of the new woman, the changing face of America's cities, and an increasing role for African Americans. The anxiety created by the threat to traditional American values peaked after World War One. In response, some Americans during the 1920s sought to restrict certain kind of immigrant, while others resurrected the Ku Klux Klan and similar protective organizations. The 1920s were also marked by a high degree of racial and ethnic conflict. A new organization with an old man, the Ku Klux Klan, recruited over 2.5 million members to an anti-Catholic, anti-Semitic, anti-alien, anti-black movement. This hate group, also known as the KKK, promotes the supremacy of the Christian Caucasian ethnicity and uses extreme torture and violence to oppress other races. Although the Klan continued to target African Americans, it focused much of its attention on the rising immigrant population in the cities. Indeed, the clash between immigrants and those who opposed virtually all immigration to the United States, particularly from Southern and Eastern Europe, was very prominent in the 1920s. The Ku Klux Klan used terrorism, both physical, assault, and murder, against groups or individuals whom they opposed. They were xenophobic, senseless, and racist group that directly encased Nativism back then in America, but also nowadays through the generation that carry all that resentment. Although nativists fear and despise Catholic immigrants and other enemy outsiders, they still view themselves as superior, identifying as the real Americans. They had arguments for opposing immigration. Some feared that an influx of unskilled laborers would take their jobs away. Others believed that the nation's genetic and racial purity was being damaged. Furthermore, some nativist intellectuals back up their prejudices with dubious scientific rhetoric that link immigrant physical characteristics to criminal tendencies or lower intellectual abilities. Through history, nativism has developed into more than simply fear that immigrants and minorities are a threat to livelihood. Nativists now believe that their national identity as a whole is at risk. In 2017, proud nativist Americans fear that they won't be the primary population in the United States anymore, and immigrants will just come to this nation to destroy their cultural values and identity that has shaped them for centuries. Additionally, the concern of losing national security borders and religious prejudice are seen throughout various times of periods. However, despite opposition, it is worth saying that immigrants have deeply transformed American society. They have contributed to the industrial growth, shared their tradition, and the list goes on. Though the conditions were harsh and they received few benefits, immigrant labor has helped the United States become the world power that it is today. American society, and the war in general, continues to wrestle with the benefits and drawbacks of a globalization and living in an increasingly interconnected world. In fact, the United States has been known for being a diverse and welcoming country towards different races, and must stay the same regardless any xenophobic regime. That is what makes America truly great.